Romance and love is the #1 most talked about topic on the planet. Everything I've been taught or learned.
I couldn't even wrap my head around that because of how hypersexualized society is. It's hypersexualized for someone who is very sexual, you know? So like I couldn't imagine what it was like for someone who's either aromantic or asexual to just like see everything, all media. It's all consuming, even stuff that shouldn't be sexual. You're like, oh, this is a Bible study course. Yeah, and the priest is real hot. And you're like, whoa, what? Is Jaiden Animations good? It's an 11 million channel, and there's this video called Being Not Straight that apparently is breaking conservatives' minds. I really wanted to watch it. I'm curious. I'm curious about this. Yes, it's good. Yes, okay. She cool. All right, that's good advice.
Okay, before I even say anything, let's lay out some ground rules.
Okay.
Probably gonna be the most open I'll ever get about my personal life. I know I've shared tidbits of myself and life through little stories, but when it comes to personal stuff, I'm very private, especially within the past few years. I'm gonna be talking in very general surface level terms because specific personal details are for me to know, and in the nicest way possible, none of your business. Basically,
okay, this animation is absolutely darling. I think I'm on board.
this is something I want to talk about, share, and bring a spotlight to. But at the same time, you get the Cliff Notes version. So no trying to assume or guess anything beyond what I'm sharing within this video.
Is that me? I guess that's all of us.
At the end of the day, we're all just strangers refusing to listen to the stranger danger rule. Alright, formalities aside, let's get into it. I've come to realize that I'm AROACE, which stands for aromantic asexual. And I know what you're thinking. That's not gay. What the hell is that? And you know what? That is completely fair because I didn't know what that was either. Aromantic and asexual are two different things, and I'm gonna break them down to you separately, starting with aromantic because no one really knows what that one is. And also, it's my personal favorite. Someone who's
But I know everything. I'm cis and I know everything.
Aromantic is defined as a person who feels very little to no romantic attraction to anyone at all. So like they might not develop crushes on people or feel the need to be in a romantic relationship with anyone. Very general terms, but hopefully you kind of get the gist. If not, here's a little story example from me. Growing up, I never developed crushes on anyone. I remember when I was in 5th grade, kids were talking about their crushes left and right, and it was starting to feel like something I had to experience too, just because I thought that's just what happens. Don't make fun of 9-year-old me, I was a sheep. Anyway, I decided I needed to have a crush because that's just what happens to people. And I very robotically chose this random kid in the class who we can call Pikachu. That's not his name. He didn't mean anything to me and I didn't do anything about this crush. Like, I didn't tell anyone or anything. It was just a headcanon thing for me to feel up to speed and like I was hitting my normal human emotions quota. But it's funny because on Valentine's Day, you know how in elementary school everyone would bring cheesy Walmart Valentine's cards for everyone in the class, and then you'd have a box full of candy and hollow emotions from everyone. Well, my school did that. When I went through my box, I pulled out Pikachu's Valentine and thought to myself, someone who has a crush on someone would keep this. I think. So I put Pikachu's copy-paste Batman Valentine in my drawer and promptly forgot about it because it meant nothing to me, but hey, that's just what I thought I was supposed to do. Man, I'm so good at this. Then like a year or so later when my mom was going through my room, she pulled out the card and was like, why do you have this? And I was like, honestly, I have no idea. Years passed, I entered junior high and thought to myself, all right, this is the time where people start developing crushes and then do something about it. Like get into relationships or something. So I was like preparing to be interested in people. On the first day of school, I scoped out the room to see if there was anyone that I thought.
This is so interesting because as someone who is definitely not aromantic, like I really like hearing other perspectives and people explain it in a way that like, you know, put yourself in the POV kind of thing. Like the POV story I find really helps, especially the people who might not be receptive to something, because like I couldn't imagine having to have a crush on someone as a task or as a chore, you know, like as like, okay, I now have to go out of my way to think about how I'm going to organize wanting to have a crush on someone. Like it just happens innately to me.
looked like someone I could develop a crush on. And this was when classes started being divided up into periods, so there were like 6 batches of people I sifted through. But no one caught my eye, and I thought, man, unlucky. Went through the whole school year, next year rolled around, classes changed, I did the same potentials crush scoping again, and the same thing happened. I wasn't drawn to anyone at all. Man. Unlucky again! Every year I thought something would change, especially going into high school when people started actually hitting puberty and were getting conventionally attractive. But my entire school life, grades kindergarten to senior year, which I'm pretty sure is like 13 years, I wasn't interested in a single person throughout any of it. And what's funny was I was thinking, man, what's the deal? Why is no one attractive? And I went to a big high school. There were like 3,500 students there. Surely I am not the outlier in this formula. Why are none of you attractive? By the time I was going into college, I really felt like I had to find someone. It felt like I was falling behind the curve, or if I was gonna find someone, it was gonna have to happen now. I made a lot of new friends, and that's when I thought I developed my first genuine crush. Long story short, in hindsight, no, it wasn't a crush and I was just wrong. I just met someone who I thought was cool and funny and had a really strong desire to be close to them. But looking back, knowing what I do now, it wasn't in a romantic way. I realized I can get very excited and tunnel vision on people I think are really cool or interesting and kind of obsess over getting to know them or just want to spend a lot of time with them. But whenever I got into those tunnel vision moments, if I sat down and asked myself if I actually wanted to be in a relationship with them and hold hands or cuddle or kiss, the answer was not really, but if they wanted to, I could go along with it. Which I do not think is right. In my very old flirting video, which I refuse to rewatch, I think at one point in it I said something along the lines of, if you're interested in someone but they just want to be friends, I don't understand why some people can't deal with that. And that was primarily because I didn't realize there was an emotional difference between a crush or falling in love and just being really good friends with someone. So, oops, sorry for the bad take, I think. I really just thought having a crush on someone was wanting to be their #1 best friend. Look, I said don't make fun of me. To me, it used to feel like if I was wanting to become friends with someone to that high of a degree, that would be the next step or justify why I wanted to put this much time, effort, and energy into one person. And it didn't feel right or even fair going through all of this with someone and then tell them they're just a friend. I don't know, it just didn't feel like it made sense, even though I really didn't technically see them in a romantic way. I just didn't understand what was going on really, or that there was
I think this is the best video I've ever seen on explaining aromantic people to someone who is not aromantic that I've ever seen on the internet. Like, I'm like, all of this I'm starting to POV and understand the perspective of. It's very well done.
Supposed to be real emotions instead of a logical understanding of steps. And the fact that I was under the assumption that I was supposed to be interested in people in a romantic way didn't help with anything. I always preferred to stay good friends, but never felt like I could have that, and I worried that if I said no, that we would just start drifting apart, which I obviously didn't want either. It's been a very long journey discovering this about myself. Everything I'm saying has all been extremely subconscious and not understood or defined for many years. I even used to think I was bi or pan for the longest time because I would think to myself, well, bi is being interested in both genders. I don't really care for either, but 0 is equal to 0, so I guess I'm bi or pan. I got math involved. If I knew what aromanticism was when I was growing up, things would have been a lot less complicated for me a lot sooner. I think it's mainly because people don't really talk about it or even know what it is or that it's real. Romance and love is the #1 most talked about topic on the planet. Everything I've been taught or learned.
I couldn't even wrap my head around that because of how hypersexualized society is. It's hypersexualized for someone who is very sexual, you know? So like, I couldn't imagine what it was like for someone who's either aromantic or asexual to just like see everything, all media. It's all consuming, even stuff that shouldn't be sexual. You're like, oh, this is a Bible study course. Yeah, and the priest is real hot. And you're like, whoa, what?
For society is that love and romance is everywhere. Everyone feels it, and it's gonna happen to you. Just a funny little note, there was a point where I was listening to some generic romance song on the radio, you know, like all of them, and I just suddenly thought to myself, wait, Do people actually feel these things towards each other? Like all these mushy lyrics are real emotions? They're not joking? And that's when I started feeling like something was different. I approached romance under the blanket term thought of, sure, why?
To be fair, the corporatization of love, okay, has turned it into something vastly different from what I feel true love both feels like and is, and that includes a variety of different forms of love as well. I mean, mass media is not doing I guess the analysis of love relationships at any service, to say the very least.
Why not? And didn't recognize it was actually a feeling, which might sound stupid, but look, I don't know. No one presented me with any other options. I did a lot of rationalizing. If someone ever expressed romantic interest in me, I would mentally make a kind of logical list of their pros and cons and the pros and cons of what a relationship would look like with them based on what I knew about them as a person. I didn't realize there was supposed to be an extra, like, excited feeling, or the fact that you're not supposed to think about it as if it were a business exchange. I understand compatibility is a huge important variable when it comes to sharing a relationship with someone, but at the end of the day, it's still, apparently, still a very emotionally driven thing. And I literally had to make that discovery and teach it to myself. Now, I'm gonna talk about being asexual very briefly, and I'm gonna preface it with, let's all just be mature about this, alright? We're all pretending to be adults here. I've got my eye on some of you. Behave! Okay, this is definitely treading into uncomfortable personal boundary territory for me, but yeah, I do want to share that I'm asexual
Thank
too,
you for
which
sharing.
is defined as someone who feels little to no intimate attraction to anyone. Look, I know we said we're all adults, but I'm still gonna dance around the vocabulary, alright? Yes, there's a difference between romantic and intimate attraction. Little side note, I will say you can experience romantic
I was like, I hope at the very least, that people get that concept, because that one I've known for a long time,
attraction to someone but no intimate attraction, or you can experience intimate attraction but no romantic attraction. You can be one and not the other. It's not necessarily a package deal. Most people feel both, and I do not feel either. Anyway, I have never been magnetically attracted to the look or shape of a single person in my entire life, and did not realize it was a real thing until very recently. I'm able to identify when someone looks conventionally attractive, like by textbook definition, but I never realized people are genuinely drawn to people they think are attractive. I didn't know that people could just see someone and be like, wow, they're gorgeous. I would love to get to know that person, or maybe go on a date with them, or whatever else you people do. I didn't think it was real. I thought people were exaggerating or something. I don't know. And I also couldn't believe that some people feel that with multiple people. Or like celebrities, which sounds absolutely exhausting. It ties back to when I was in school, like looking around for people to like.
This must have been a really difficult journey, considering that, like, I, for one, can tell you that I completely unaware of a lot of these concepts growing up. I mean, I would say until like maybe the past 2 years, I've started to learn a little bit more about people who are demisexual, asexual, aromanticism was a concept that I had not been able to fully understand until this video. And then watching this video, I was like, oh, that makes perfect sense to me now. Wow. Like how much a POV can explain something so quickly. But like, imagine growing up in that, because you would have to figure out a lot of that stuff on your own, or find like support in either like online communities or stuff like that, to be able to piece all the puzzles together. Because it, like, you would be like, broadly speaking, society is obsessed with sex. Like, it's just utterly obsessed with sex. It's like, it is the oil that greases the entire machine of civilization sometimes. You're just like, everything. It doesn't, like I said, things can be completely asexual by definition, and we turn them into sexual things. It's an actual rule on the internet. What is it, like Rule 37 or whatever? Like, anything that can be sexualized will be sexualized eventually. Fucking boats, fucking pencils, colors. Oh yeah, the green M&M is sexy. Why is the green M&M sexy, I ask you? What of the red M&M? The poor red M&M. Poor red M&M is always just like the blunt of the joke. No one's ever like, I really want to fuck the red M&M. They're always like, no, it's the green M&M or nothing. Yes, I will do anything. I will do anything for that green M&M. I will die for the green M&M, There's so many ussies now. You can take anything and turn it into an ussie, Like, again, pencil. Okay, that one doesn't work. That one doesn't work because it's also pussy. All right, fuck.
Sense now that no one caught my eye because that doesn't happen to me. I was just wasting my time for 13 years. I feel like such a fool. Now, there's an easy assumption to make about asexual people and that they all have zero interest in being intimate with anyone at all, which actually isn't true. Some of them are genuinely turned off by it, and some aren't. Some reasons would be that they just don't mind it, or they want to make their partner happy, or enjoy the emotional closeness of it. There's a million different reasons and a million different people.
While the show, and I find highly problematic, Euphoria, mostly because it really hypersexualizes people who happen to be very young, but like the acting is sensational, the soundtrack. Anyways, this is not a detour to talk about Euphoria, but they explore two things, I would say, with more depth than I've seen in other TV shows, and one of them is the concept surrounding asexuality, and then another one is, you know, basically depression as it affects families in like a lot of various ways. But that was also interesting to see, like, asexuality portrayed and at least talked about and mentioned.
Am I sharing what kind of a people I am? Nope. And you don't know me personally enough in the slightest to be able to try and parasocially analyze where I stand on that spectrum. I'm just here to say I am this.
So sex education is really
good
on these topics.
When I stumbled onto the
cool.
term AROACE and started realizing I fall into that category, it helped me feel much more confident and sure of myself. I've read a lot about—
Oh man, the Darling cartoon makes it even better, because then you're just like, oh damn, that's awesome. That's so cool.
how people say they—
like, I know it's a meme, like, I feel seen, but like that actually probably was one of those moments, not one that I can, directly say that I ever had.
They felt broken or that something was wrong with them. But honestly, I was the complete opposite. Coming from my very biased perspective, I think AROACE is one of, if not the coolest and most confident orientations out there. Not needing a single gram of romantic or intimate validation from anyone is so cool. All you need is yourself to be happy, maybe friends and family too. And birds. The more I came to terms with the fact I'm AROACE, the more empowered and capable I felt.
But
at the same time, I was also starting to feel more alone and isolated. As cool and amazing and unique and awesome as I think it is, it can be really hard for other people to relate to or even understand. Everyone else and their orientations are able
Which
to
Pixel
bond
says,
and
can
relate to the
confirm,
love
I too
and
feel
romance
seen. That's
aspects,
awesome.
And we're over here like, we don't do that. I don't even know if I'm explaining it very well. It kind of does go against everything everyone's ever been taught about anything. Romance is taught to be a basic assumed emotion, which I do think is a bit misleading. A common argument used against the AROACE orientation is that—
two things, both romantic attraction and sexual attraction. Just because, like, I'm just speaking for myself, things that happen very innately, right? Like, I've never had to, like, look over at someone and be like, oh wow, she, like, I think she's really good looking. I don't know, but I have to figure this out, and maybe I have to process it that way. And and the same thing with, like, romantic feelings towards someone, in a completely non-sexual sense. Yeah, the exact same.
Romance and intimacy is what makes someone—
I've been learning a lot about the past few weeks about myself, and this video is helping me think through this right now. Holy shit, that's amazing. This is a really good video. I don't understand why conservatives would be pissed off at this video. That doesn't make any sense to me. Like, there's no, like, well, I mean, is it just anything that doesn't follow along, like, heteronormativity? Is that it? Like, it's like, this is an absolutely adorable video about someone's life story, about a topic that this person doesn't feel in most other settings comfortable talking about, and is making it all out there for everyone to see, and done in the most, like, darling of ways. Human must breed. You must breed. Human must breed. Eggs for fertilization.
Human. But I mean, I don't know, lots of birds mate for life, which is a better ratio than people. And all animals get frisky. That's just how they became not extinct. It's not an exclusive to humans thing. If I were to guess, I would assume the thing that makes someone human is basic empathy. Like, I'm not an emotionalist monster. I can still love people. I love my family and my pets, just platonically. And I would hope that you're the same. I just don't experience romantic love, which, I don't know. I don't think that's harming anyone. Definitely.
Hassan had a stun lock about people now identifying as AROACE. What's AROACE?
Definitely not me. I'm having the time of my life. I don't think you need to be in a relationship to be happy. And if you don't want to be just on your own, I think there's many types of people in relationships that push the boundaries of what a conventional relationship looks like. Telling someone that they need to be in a romantic relationship to be happy and fulfilled is weird. And then when that person says they're not happy, they're told relationships.
But wait, he was getting mad. He was mad at the suggestion that AROACE is a thing, or mad at the fact that people are choosing to be? I don't think people would choose to be anything, right? Aren't you born that way? Isn't that kind of, I mean, maybe you, as you grow older and you start to discover concepts and ideas, there's parts of it where you're like, oh, I didn't understand who or what I was before. But then like at that point you can be like, oh, okay, well now I know. The bloodline ends with me.
Take a lot of work, and that's just how it goes. And that's also weird.
He was probably just mad at some chatter trolling him. Yeah, true.
I don't know. I also think it's weird that once someone reaches a certain age, people inherently start thinking it's sad they're not in a romantic relationship, or assume they're lonely.
Okay, that one really pisses me off, and this has been for a long time, and this is like independent of the AROACE discussion. That people constantly, and relatives, and I'm sorry, but aunts all the time are like, why don't you have a partner? Like, why aren't you seeing anyone? You know, I mean, at a certain point, I don't even care if it's a man, you know, I just hope you see someone soon, you know, because like blah, blah, blah. Or like, oh, you're with your partner? Why don't you have kids? Why don't you have kids yet? Why haven't you had kids? Even if you do plan to have children one day, the fact that people would just be like, well, where are they? And it's like, why are those two things requirements to you? Do you, like, can I not have fun without said things? I mean, if I was telling you, if I started this conversation by being like, I'm very sad that I'm not in a relationship. Okay, now I've opened the door to say what you're saying out loud right now. But if I haven't, it's really weird to be like, oh, when are you going to find someone? Or just to talk about someone else in that way too. I think even secondhand, it's kind of like, it's really sad they don't have kids, you know? And you're like, why would you say that? There's so many reasons why you could not have children, by the way. It could be a medical reason. It could be like a complication you had. Maybe something bad had happened to you in the past. Or it's totally fucking normal not to have kids or to want to have kids. Some people just don't want to have kids. Like, I don't get that requirement. Where, like, and that's one of the ones that I've just felt like, I think I was like young. That was not taught. The internet didn't exist back then, I tell you. But like, I was always like, why? Why is this a thing? Why do you have to have children? I understand if you want kids, and I'm someone who probably wants a kid, you know, years from now. But it's one of those things where if someone doesn't want kids, I'm still like, awesome, okay, neat, all right. Jesus didn't have kids. No, we're all his children. That's not true. No, I debunked that. 2 seconds. 2 seconds, debunked. Nope. We are all God's children. All three of them. How do you think you get the Holy Ghost inside you? If that would not have been possible had it not been for Jesus' love and the fact that he's inside all of us at all times. Not sexually.
And sad. No one thinks a child is sad and lonely just because they're not in a long-term relationship. I don't know. I don't get it. And I also think I'm rambling. At the end of the day, it's all very complicated to talk about these things, especially because I don't know the feelings I'm supposed to be feeling, let alone talk about.
And by the way, you know what else is interesting? And this just shows you how like ingrained heteronormity is in society. When I started this video, the fact that it said be not straight, I had no assumptions that this was going to be about aromanticism or asexuality. I'm like 100%. I was not even thinking that. I didn't know what this video was about. And when I saw that title, I was like, okay, this is going to be a really interesting coming of age story about someone who turns out who's gay or something like that. Like that shows you like how much you never think about these concepts.
I just know for me, the terms aromantic and asexual are able to articulate things I was subconsciously feeling and thinking before I even realized I was feeling and thinking them. I don't plan on talking about this very much, if at all, ever again. I just want to play my silly little video games, maybe tell a story here or there. But I wanted to bring the orientations to the surface and try to get more representation out there because I thought if I could help more people become more aware of this, then that would be awesome. I was confused as hell for a while and could have used something something like this. It's a real thing.
The straight parts of me learned many things today.
Whatever to be
many
considered
things,
a real
even the gay
person.
parts too.
Personally, I think it's really cool and badass. And don't be afraid to look more into aromanticism or asexualism if any of what I said in this video resonated with you to any degree. Like I said, this is all very surface level stuff. They're both much larger spectrums than you'd think.
Thanks for sharing this. I learned a lot too. Well, this was a very pleasant surprise. As someone who spends a lot of my day watching horrifying, we watched Steven Crowder today. This is like supreme candy of the highest order after Steven Crowder. This is like an all-you-can-eat candy buffet. Well, it's not all you can eat. That's misleading. But this is certainly really nice candy to have after Steven Crowder. And apparently there's a new internet comment to get as well. Yeah, hold on to your battle stations.
All under some umbrella category with them. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or not.
That's the if someone was like describing me what the channel is, I would say it's the literal opposite of Steven Crowder. That's how I could best describe it. In that it's wonderful, it's darling, it's informative, it's educational, it's pleasant, it's wise, it's good.
Right. This has all been my personal experience with this stuff. Is there more for me to figure out within it? Yeah, I'm pretty sure there is. It can get pretty complicated and confusing. Haha, awesome. Will I be sharing any of that with you? Nope, no way. This is all you get. Hope you can understand even just a little of what I talked about. And if not, that's totally fine. I just hope you can be nice. Thanks for listening. I never really intended on making this video.
Yeah, huge massive thank yous to Jaiden for that absolute pleasure. That was so cool. Here's the link to the channel, everybody. Go share it far and wide. Learn things. Learn a great many splendid thing.
Do you enjoy the Serfs but prefer not to have to use your eyeballs? Many are saying this. Well, we've got the solution for you. It's the Serf Times in podcast form. Available on most major podcasting networks now. If you enjoy it, please consider leaving a good review and feedback because it really helps the show out, apparently, and it's free, just like the podcast.
To our gods, Xander Corvus and Peyton L. Just, we are prepared to conduct many a human sacrifices in your honor. To our monarch, Tom Spiker, we are but your humble yet incompetent jesters, trying in vain to bring some levity into your life. To our Lord Trevor R., we give you thanks for this meager plot of land for us to toil away our pathetic existence. To our brave knights, Carl Wauer, Tony, DM Rivera, Resident Scarecrow, Sir Nickus, Mayred, Cheryl Alvarez, Ruben Kelly, Brandon, Words Greenwood, Nate, Hegbert Celine, Matthew Scarborough, Stellar Vision, Ariane McCarthy, Daniel Sutton, Coulter Smith, Jenna Tal, Quiet 185, Anna Loves Riley, Omni, Riley and Anna, Poodlehawk, The Tim Caucus, Multimondi, Trevor Janis, Lemmy 101, Anthropophojak, Saren 42, Catherine, Ramon Acosta, Incosin, Agent NDN, Violent Orchard, Political Puppy, Andreas Chiringuito, Zach Christensen, Todd Buckingham, and Todd Lajeunesse. We salute our mighty heroes off to conquest some bread in some far-off land.